Thanks, Brand Innovators, again for having me. Appreciate all you guys do. So we got an awesome topic here today. Obviously, Steve from Crypto.com. I'm from Brave. I run our sales, and if you know Brave, you love it, you use it. We kind of fly under the radar, but we're a privacy browser. Basically a made for Web3 browser and search engine, where the paramount mission of what we do is giving power back to the user. So there's trust. We don't share data, sell data, collect data. That's a big problem in the world going on now. So it's a massive mission for us to make sure that the Brave users love using Brave and feel safe doing so. In any case, it's about Steve and Crypto.com. So I'd love you to introduce, yourself, the company, what you guys are doing. They have an awesome mission as well.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming this morning. I'm Steve, Chief Marketing Officer at Crypto.com. Crypto.com is a crypto exchange, so it's a place where you can buy and sell crypto. We also have the world's leading Visa card, so you can spend your crypto anywhere in the world that accepts Visa or withdraw fiat in any currency from any ATM in the world. So we make it really easy for you to get into the industry and also extract your funds whenever you want to. Which might seem trivial, but those were the biggest blockers and have historically been the biggest blockers. If you want to buy Bitcoin, how do you do it? And if you want to take out your money after you've made some money, how do you do it? So literally solving those two problems has been our biggest focus. From day one, we're soon going to be 8 years old. From day one, we focused on regulation. While you've seen others in the industry get in trouble with various regulators around the world, I'm proud to say we haven't had any of those problems, and to this day we're the most regulated platform in the world with the most licenses and certifications around the world. Again, that's because we started the business from a perspective of this industry will be fully regulated just like banking, and eventually crypto will be another asset that people can invest in. And so that's how we started the business, and that's how we keep it going.
So the start of the business and what you guys are doing now is pretty impressive. But for all the people here that understand, don't understand, there's a lot of swirl about just the word crypto or digital currency and everything that comes along with that. Like, give us the state of the market. Is it stable? Is it understood? I know that's a loaded question, but people generally, the general population, they do not understand, I don't think, what they're supposed to understand. And so what's the market like today? And then how does Crypto.com kind of fit with that? Because you have been a mainstay and a good example. So,
yeah, I'd say we're probably, as an industry, in our teenage years now. So the industry only really started, really started in end of 2009, early 2010. So it's still a pretty nascent industry. I mean, if you think about Netflix, it was only a few years ago that Netflix really went mainstream, and Netflix started in the late 90s, right? So, these things do take time. And I'd say we're getting to a phase, we're just before the phase where Airbnb became acceptable. Like, I don't know, I'm looking around the room, you guys probably do remember the point in time when Airbnb was like a place for people who were couch surfing, and like, why don't you just stay at a hotel? Why are you crashing at someone's place? That's kind of weird. And why are you like letting strangers? And on the other side, like, why are you letting strangers stay in your house? Like, that's super weird. That's where it was, and then it got really bad. There was that period of time when Airbnb had the terrible press around, well, if you stay in an Airbnb, you might get raped. And if you rent your house out on Airbnb, there's probably going to be some like rager there, and the cops are going to have to come, and your house is going to burn down, and there's no insurance. And so like there was just this like really terrible period of time where Airbnb was almost going mainstream, and then all the bad news comes out because that's what journalists like to write about. And so that became what people understood, and it was sort of fringe, and then it went mainstream. Airbnb did a good job of rebranding themselves and really focusing on belonging, and Airbnb eventually became like the aspirational way to travel, right? Why would you go to Sydney or Montreal where like all the hotels are over there when all the locals live over there? I want to go stay where the locals are. I want to go to a local cafe. I want to do those fun things, and Airbnb was the only option. And so, and they actively fought with governments everywhere, right? Because governments weren't excited about Airbnb coming in. They had made all these commitments to hotels and everybody else to, yes, please, Hilton, spend $100 million building a hotel and creating all these jobs because we're going to create other things around that in the city to bring tourists. And all of a sudden, the hotels are like, wait, no one's coming to my hotel, but tourism is coming. So, Airbnb had to fight a lot of legal issues. They still are around the world. So I look at that and I look at crypto in much the same way, right? It started out fringe, kind of cool, and then it got dangerous when lots of people started touching it, and it wasn't really regulated yet. And of course, you have some bad players who take advantage of situations. I think we're through that at this point. Sam Bankman-Fried from FTX is going to be in jail for a long time. Binance has paid the biggest fine ever, and CZ is going to spend time in jail. You could debate whether he's going to spend enough time in jail.
But you know that. You trust the system. You are building the system, and it's built through trust, and you're the example, right? So the general population, they hear crypto.
Yeah, that takes time. That'll take time. You see,
fake money. So I think that's like, I look at you guys, and you have done a good job of setting the example. And so, like, how do you switch the mindset of them?
Again, I think from where I sit, it just takes time. I mean, like this story is in the latest TV spot we just did with Eminem that just launched last week. I don't think we have it here. We could play it in a minute. But
you want to watch it? Get everyone hyped up.
Sure. Yeah. Why don't we play it?
They ignored your potential, dissed your achievements, and mocked your ambition. But it's not the critic who counts, and you know that. From the beginning, you couldn't be stopped. Breaking resistance with every swing and block. Your game plan never changed. So enjoy this moment, the one they said you'd never live to see. Some still call it luck. Let them. Because you know what it's always been. Inevitable. Feels good.
Like, that's badass. I like. So, again, like I consider, we talked about this the other night, you guys are the example, and you're paving the way, and I think you're creating a trustworthy mindset for that general population I keep mentioning that thinks something is evil about, crypto and what it is, why it's available, what it does, all that stuff. I mean, so with that commercial and, who you are as far as a company and the vision you guys have, like, let's dive into the topic of building, a modern brand. Like now, it's because you guys certainly, I think, buck the trend of what I thought and how you like. We work together. We've worked together for 5 years, but what you guys do, and you should explain it, is far different than I think anyone would ever think about what a modern brand looks like and how you've grown the user base from, I don't know, in 2 years, 3 years, 3 million to 80 million users. Pretty good. So how'd you do that, and why do you guys do what you do, which I think will be fascinating for people to hear that.
Sure. Well, like that spot sort of answers your earlier question of like where we are. That spot was sort of, a reminder to ourselves, a tip of the hat to people who are already our customers or just in the industry, and also for people who are looking at the industry and might not be ready to come in, but are curious how we look at the industry. Last year, at this time, was a pretty tough period. Banks in the U.S. were falling apart. Silicon Valley Bank, had to be rescued by the government, and certain people in Congress were saying it's because of crypto. They were wrong, but crypto was getting a really bad rap in the press. People were asking me, what do I do with my Solana? And I was like, hold it. I was like, I don't know.
It's going down.
Yeah, exactly. And Solana like 10x from where it was a year ago.
Did you just commit insider
trading?
No.
None of this is financial. None of this is financial advice. But you look back and in 2023, Bitcoin was the single best investment you could have made that year. So far this year, it's one of the best performing assets in the world in 2024, after having an incredible 2023. So, as an industry, we don't look at like small slivers of time. We look at the long term, right? And so, the idea in that spot was to say, look, we always were focused on where we're going. In that spot, the guy's going into the octagon. He hasn't won the fight. Like, there's still a lot to do. We're not done. But, lots of people said we wouldn't live to see this moment that we're at right now, where, there's a Bitcoin ETF. Your 401k, you can invest in the industry through your 401k.
Bring in that general population.
Yeah, exactly. So it's becoming more and more mainstream. We expect that to happen. We as a company and as an industry more broadly want more regulation. I think most people are waiting for the U.S. to finally bring in regulation and bring some clear rules on what's okay and what's not. And from there, I think the industry will really blossom, and more people will enter. So from a brand perspective, we've always had this long-term view, both on us as a company, more broadly the industry, which is to say that it will go mainstream, it will become regulated, and it will be another asset in your portfolio, in a diverse portfolio. And so, back in 2020, early 2020, when I joined the company, we were just, I think, 3 years old and had, just found product market fit. We had just cracked the 2 million. We were coming on 3 million users. And we said, look, it'll probably take about 5 years. And surprisingly, we're tracking pretty well to that timeline. It'll probably take 5 years for the industry to start going mainstream. But you can't, as a brand, you can't wait 5 years to meet the customer, right? They need to know who you are ahead of time. And we sort of looked at things in two ways. One is, working with Brave, which, in 2020 was primarily a crypto user web browser. We did a survey with you guys around the world, and we had less than 50% brand awareness among crypto users.
And these were, like, we have a
hardcore
point,
crypto
like,
users.
This is a wealthy, educated person that is a crypto user. They use our digital wallet, and that struck me too. I wasn't there at the time, but I've obviously seen that. It's 50% of the smartest people in the world, so they think, on our site.
Or people interested in our industry didn't know a company called Crypto.com, which may have been surprising, but when you think about it, 2020 was still pretty early in terms of the growth of the industry, and Crypto.com was still a relatively new company. We're only 3 years old. And marketing is how people learn about stuff. It's just how it is. When you're still an early company, you can't do very big marketing. But once we found product market fit, which is a really important concept to understand and be honest with yourself about when you have it and when you don't, we felt we had it. And Chris, the founder and CEO, when I was interviewing, I was like, "What are you trying to do?" And he said, "I don't want to be another crypto platform. I want to be the crypto platform." And so from that, we said, okay, well, how do we become the crypto platform? And one of the ways is to make sure everybody knows who we are, right? Because we're not an option if they don't know us. And so, okay, well, there's a lot of ways to let people know who you are. You can do a lot of, wild postings and renegade stuff on the internet, and you could behave like what the industry was perceived as, which is this completely lawless, insane, just no holds barred industry. Or we could behave the way banks did back in the 1800s, which is to present a safe, secure place for your money, right? Like when you think of how banks used to be built, they were very heavy, thick, dark stone, gates on the windows. Like everything about the physical structure of a bank was communicating safety for your money, because people like my grandmother, who was born in 1925 in Baghdad, didn't like to the day she died, she had money literally under her bed because she didn't trust banks. And I grew up in New York, and I was like, what do you why would you, like, the money's way less safe under my bed. Like someone I've had people break into my apartments in New York, like that happens. Or, like, my money's way safer in the bank.
And she got upset about you, not her money, because she's your grandma.
Yeah, exactly. So whereas fast forward to today, like, how are banks designed? They're all glass windows on corner locations. They're the best corner locations in big cities, which is like the most like, come rob us. But no one's worried about their money getting stolen from a bank anymore. In fact, they don't go to banks because they're traditionally scary, annoying places. And banks are really trying to say, hey, come inside so we can talk to you about selling you all these other things that we have. So we're not at that stage. We are very much in the stage of we're a safe place for your money. We're trustworthy. And there hasn't been a lot of trust in our industry. Some of it self-inflicted by people in the industry. So we said, all right, well, we want everybody to know us. And what do we want them to know us for? Is a brand that knows who it is, has conviction for the industry, but is also safe and is here for the long term. And so everything, and is global in nature. And so when you look at everything we've done, it's always been about partnering with the coolest, most interesting people who don't do ads, right? Like our first big spot with Matt Damon, like that was his first ad ever. He'd done one other ad for Peroni, which was part of a thing for water.org, his charity. We did our Super Bowl spot with LeBron. We did this with Eminem, who I think this is only his second spot.
To that point, though, right? When you think Crypto.com, modern brand representing a very new sector that is just beginning its journey of brand marketing, like you buck the trend of what is expected, like granular data. How do I reach these people in weird ways? And like you literally market yourselves as if you are what McDonald's, Coca-Cola, the biggest brands, most well-known brands in the world are. And it's so unexpected to hear that at this day and age, the way you guys do that. Big commercial, the stadium, it's the stuff that you're talking about, the UFC. I mean, you can't click on a UFC shirt. And so it's very different the way you guys are building and the way you reel people in to get educated about what you do.
Well, again,
can you talk a little bit about
we're playing on both planes, right? Yep. So on one plane is like all of this stuff is for mass market. This is very much to say, like that we have the confidence that those people are coming, and to a certain degree, it's a very startup, entrepreneurial. Like we believe in our business, and we haven't, like a company like Visa, like. They made it to the top of the mountain decades ago, and like with all due respect to everybody who works there, like if 50% of them went home, Visa would make as much money as they do right now, right? Like no, like it's not because it's just like Visa made it, right? Like they are 10 times bigger than MasterCard or something like that. Like Visa owns the market, and the banks are doing the work of just issuing cards and. Transactions are happening and it's cool. And the more people travel and cross-border transactions, they make more money, right? Like Visa makes money. That's it.
But you guys are not Visa.
We're not. But we want to be Visa, right? So we want to get to the top of that mountain. We're still running up the mountain. And there's a certain element of binary. Either we make it or we don't. And so if you live in that world of you either make it or you don't, then you go for it. And so a big part of that is to say we believe that everyone in the world will use crypto at some point. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people. In the same way that early in my career I worked at HBO, and it was like early 2000s, and everybody from the CEO of HBO on down were like, Netflix is a joke. Like, what is this? And there were a bunch of us. Like, I literally left HBO after a certain point because no one could see new media, which is what we called it at the time. As something that was going to happen, right? And now, like, HBO barely exists. The app they went through the best brand in the world at one point, and they just completely destroyed it. They went through like 7 different names of their app, and today it's called Max, which is like, Cinemax was like that secondary stepchild that people called Skinamax, right? Like, and now the app is called, and now the app is called Max, and like, and now Netflix is this massive company, but what's the biggest company in streaming? It's YouTube. In terms of like literally people paying to subscribe, it's YouTube, right? And that was a company that I remember talking with people at HBO, like the people who should know the business better than anybody. And they were saying, we're going to put YouTube out of business. When a few of us were pitching ideas of how we start programming on YouTube to then bring people into HBO. And they were just, the smartest people in the industry looked at YouTube, looked at Netflix and said, no way. And so, similarly, that's how people look at crypto.
I mean, you've taken learnings from massive brands that made certain choices, good or bad, but your choice to do what you did, and you have a go-forward attitude. I mean, for lack of a better phrase, it's a ballsy choice to do what you did and say, this is how we are going to build this modern brand, when there's a lot of brands in your space, in our space overall, that I'm sure there's a lot of brand marketers that would say, there's no way I'm doing this. I got to stick to the script. Tell me about old playbooks versus your playbook.
Yeah. No, I mean, so I think what you're getting at from our earlier conversation is like, a lot of people just assume, all right, well, let's just go digital and let's do everything digital. And, you know, a brand like ours, I'm not sure how you could build in a digital world, right? Like, now, it's not that we're not, right? So a lot of what we're doing has the digital world in mind. But when it comes to advertising, people really, really don't like ads in the digital space, right? Like, really, really don't.
What a weird space we're in.
No, I mean, you know, and it's funny, you know, if you have kids, right? Like, the first thing your kid knows how to do on the iPad is click the skip ad button, right? Like they can't read, but they know where that button is, and their finger's like a magnet to it, and it's just how it is. And so, what you want to do, or at least what my attitude was, well, we need to be in places naturally. And we need to be in places where lots of people are experiencing it at the same time, even if they're not in the same room. And so, you know, like the deal with UFC, you know, we had this incredible opportunity to be their first front of shirt sponsor. And as a result, you know, I watch UFC. I know where the key moments are. And the key moments are in the walkout, where every fighter, man and woman, wears the shirt as they're walking into the octagon. And at the end of the fights, the winner puts on the shirt. And all the cornermen, all 6 of them, are all wearing the whole gear. And sure enough, you know, in the most like watched times of each fight, the walkout and then the end, we're there, and we're the only brand you see there. It's happening on TV. It's, you know, one of the most global sports, right? Like, as much as we love NFL here, like, way more people are watching a UFC fight at each fight than an NFL game. And way more diverse user base in terms of international appeal.
Yep.
You know, same thing with F1, right? Like, so when we got the chance to become a global partner of F1, you know, every race is watched by millions around the world, and it's been a growing sport in the U.S., which is also a big market for us. But more importantly, at every replay, right? Like, you know, sport is now entertainment. It's really changed over the last few years. You know, when you're looking at your Instagram feed or TikTok or whatever, you're seeing big moments in big games or big events around the world, and we're there every time, right? When there's a big play at the Crypto.com arena, like, you know it's the Crypto.com arena. Our logo is almost always there. It's referenced constantly. And so it's not that we're not marketing on digital, but rather we found the way to be there natively at the big moments where we're going to reach the biggest audience, and it presents us as a mainstream part of it. Right?
Yeah,
we're not jamming ourselves in.
Moments-based marketing is awesome. I mean, you know,
it's all we have left. Really.
It's an amazing place. I mean, to be at a high point, even a low point, like every part, you're there, you're representing. But to our previous conversation, you are in places that have growth factors. You are in places where people are watching internationally, where you get replays. And I asked you a question. Cool, that's amazing. How are you measuring that? I mean, like, what is your thought? Like, is the measurement aspect of your brand on, you know, the roof of a stadium or a UFC shirt? Is that something you guys track? Is that?
Yeah. So my provocative answer to that is that, you know, measurement doesn't matter.
I think you said another word, but
you know, it doesn't, and
I bet everyone here would disagree with you on that. But
so the measurement doesn't matter from one very practical sense, is that like how long-term deals, like, I can't get out of them. So, you know, if it's working.
But that's not why you're doing it. That's not why you're doing it.
But exactly. But yeah. No. It's you know.
Damn it, I'm in.
You need to know what to measure and how to measure and what moves the needle, right? Like, you know, when you do a deal like the Crypto.com arena, it's a 20-year deal. Like, if it's working or if it's not, I can't get out of it.
But you chose to do it, is my point.
Yeah. Well, that's the point. Is that, like, you go into. I mean, there's a certain amount of conviction of saying, like, you know, there aren't, like, they came to us, right? Like, which was interesting, because when we started in 2020, when we said we're going to do this, there were no crypto platforms doing sponsorships, and I was literally, like, sending people messages on LinkedIn, like sales reps from different sports orgs and stuff like that, being like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about doing a sponsorship," and nobody would call me back. It was amazing, and then, like. Or if I'd get a call back, it'd be like, we don't think that crypto is okay, or like, we're not sure about, is this even legal? And so, it was impossible to get anybody to pay attention to us.
Screw
And
it, it's cool.
My business partner, he happened to be stuck in an airport in Hong Kong, waiting for his COVID test, sitting next to the sales rep from Aston Martin, and they spent 9 hours sitting together like this, 6 feet apart. And by the end of that, he called me and he's like, "Dude, I think I found the way in." And Aston Martin was our first sponsorship, and after that, and then of course on CNBC they interview Lawrence, the CEO of Aston Martin, and they're like, "Are you going to start accepting Bitcoin for your cars?" And that really set everything off, because then everybody was like, "Wait, what?" And that started the whole industry looking at this space. But by that point, we had already established relationships with people who had previously said no. But then once Aston Martin happened, we started getting calls back, it started rolling. And then we really had our pick of the best opportunities. And so when you look at the Crypto.com arena, when they reached out, we had discussed, like, could we do an arena? Like a physical building is one of the best ways to communicate, like, we're going to be here for a long time, right? And trust and staying power through the ups and the downs, which we knew in 2020, we said, 2025 is when mainstream will really come.
It's amazing.
We knew that there would be ups and downs, and being able to survive that is the message. Right, and
so I love, like,
and so that's why, like, the measurement doesn't matter, because when the opportunity came up to do the arena, former Staples Center, for me there was, like, on the list of places you could rename, there was like Staples Center, and then nothing, and then maybe number 10 was other stuff. There's really very few sport buildings that have as diverse footfall in the building and are globally recognized and can be renamed. Right, like. How many people know that MSG has a naming rights sponsor? Right? Or how many people can name the naming rights sponsor of MSG? Like, it's the Chase Center, right? Like, JP Morgan Chase is the sponsor, but I haven't heard anyone ever call it the Chase Center. Like, it's MSG, and it will always be, right? And there's a lot of properties like that where you can't rename them, right? Like, it's just, you could
Fenway
try.
Park.
Yeah, like, try it. You can't.
So let me.
So, but the Staples Center was like. Sure, and I'm on record. For some journalist really went crazy with this when he asked me, like, well, but people aren't going to call it the Crypto.com arena. They're going to keep calling it the Staples Center. And I think I said, yeah, I don't care. And that was the quote. And for a while, but today, everybody calls it the Crypto or the Crypto.com arena. Like, it's just there. It's on the highway signs as you drive. It's on every parking lot, parking for Crypto.com.
No, it's impressive. And as we kind of end off here, like the foresight, the conviction. The belief, which is your industry. Hold on, wait, educate yourself. It's pretty impressive, and I just think that you went about. Obviously, you do digital stuff and you do measure, but
it's exactly. Right. The measurement and the fine targeting is there.
Like, would you tell all the brand marketers here that it's not for everyone the way that you thought? So it's like
no.
So that's as we kind of end off here, because I'm getting stared down. Like, what would you say to people of, like, I built this. You're building this brand this way for a specific reason. It could be for you. It's not for you. But, like, how should everyone look at that?
I think
what path they choose.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing to remember is that brand is as much about what you do, or probably more about what you do than what you say. Because if you notice, we don't say a whole lot, right? Like, throughout, like, the downturn in the industry over the last year, we didn't say much, but we were always there. Right, we were ever present in moments. Right, I think one of those sport analytics companies ranked, like, the most visible brands on TV in the United States, and they came out with their top 10. But then they were like, but one notable thing is number 11 is Crypto.com, and they were, like, not even on the list of, like, the top 500 2 years ago. So we're, like, number 11 in terms of, like, most visible brands on TV. And when we say on TV, it's specifically around sport, because sport is the only thing people watch live today, right? And there's just this element of exclusivity when you appear there that's similar to, like, why would you take a billboard in Times Square or elsewhere? Like, it is true that people have this subconscious understanding that, if you're there at the expense of someone else, right? Which in the digital world, there is no, and I'm a digital guy, but, like, in the digital world, there is no sense of scarcity. And so, the fact that you're there at the expense of someone else has meaning. And the fact that you're consistently somewhere and that you're behaving in a certain way has a lot of meaning for people. And for us, driving that brand awareness that's different and sort of unexpected relative to our industry, where you would expect crypto to not be doing traditional marketing. You would expect crypto to do the guerrilla marketing and, the viral stuff, the quote unquote viral stuff, which it's all fake, but the viral stuff today, it's anything viral is generally paid for. Like there are big investments in these things.
You're starting like multi-conversations,
but like that is real, So I don't actually, people talk about like, oh, but you spent so much money. Like, no, we spent what big brands spend, just in different ways, right?
Yeah, I love
and in traditional ways that a lot of people are like, that's it. You're just gonna like sponsor something, and it's like, yeah. And I get a lot of, I think there are some like experiential marketers here who are like, but you got to activate, and it's like, nope, like that's a waste of money for us, because we're trying to go for mass eyeballs, right? Like if like the number of people who want me to activate here at F1, and it's like, well, how many people am I going to hit? Maybe 100,000.
So conviction,
maybe. Whereas I'm trying to hit hundreds of millions.
No measurement. No, just kidding. But no, in any case, I mean, what you've done is impressive. Obviously, going from 3 to nearly 100 million at this point, unbelievable growth, and through your vision, I thought it was such an interesting topic at the way you built your brand compared to the way that most people think about building a modern brand. So anyway, congrats on your success, and
thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate this.
Thanks for the questions.